All right, everyone. Well, I promised a 9:33 Eastern start, and so here we are. We are thrilled to have you here this morning to talk about our Masters of Science in Accounting here at Bentley. As I wrote in the chat for those of you who logged in early, it is a beautiful morning here in Boston, so we are thrilled to have you here. It's also a really exciting day on campus. It is our new student orientation day. And so it is quite fitting that we are talking about this amazing program with the hopes that some of you will be joining us next year at exactly this event in order to start your journey here at Bentley. I am Emma Emmer. I am Director of Strategic Programs here at Bentley, supporting our graduate school. And I am joined here by two extraordinary colleagues, one of whom is probably top 5 favorite people on campus, and others who absolutely is in that same top 5 as well. I'm joined here by Len Pape, who is the program director for our Masters of Science in Accounting. And so he'll tell you a little more about what that means in just a moment. And I am also joined by the wonderful Michelle Wang, who is in our admissions office and supports folks who are interested in this program. And so, Len, if I may, I would love for you to start by introducing yourself to these amazing folks, both explaining what does it mean to be a program director, but also telling them a little bit about your background pre-Bentley, because spoiler alert for those of you on the line, Len is a perfect example of our extraordinary faculty, and we'll talk a lot about why folks' backgrounds really matter in this program. So, Len.
Thank you, Emma. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. As part of the theme that Emma and I and Michelle have is the differential that we try to project between Bentley and many of your other offerings that you may have from other institutions. And we really feel that Bentley stands out amongst many institutions that you'll have a chance to join, but we really feel that there's a value proposition here between what you will receive and learn and the cost of attending and the time that you'll invest. So my background is somewhat varied. I, by trade, am an auditor, worked for very large firms in the New England area as an auditor and a partner and a managing partner of those organizations in their accounting departments. So I manage many accounting departments, and I'm not what you'd call one standout on the faculty. We have many that teach experientially, which Emma and I are going to talk to you about, by teaching you actually what it's like to be in a situation that you're learning in that particular day, whether it be meeting an audit committee or a CFO or training staff or mentoring staff or bringing in a new client in public accounting. Also, we work very much so with private accountants, which would be CFOs in private industry. So my background is that I graduated undergraduate from the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts, but I got my master's realizing after I graduated from a liberal arts college that I wanted to do something specific. I wanted to have a body of knowledge beneath me that would in fact carry me through my career. And that was Bentley University and a Master's of Science in Accounting, all the way back almost 50 years ago to 1979, where I eventually passed the CPA exam and then worked for the next 50 years effectively in public accounting firms, 45 years. So that's the beauty of Bentley University. I got my master's there. I was an audit partner, and auditing is the class that I teach in the graduate school, so that you'll know that people that have actually done it are those that will teach it. Part of the situation that I have here at Bentley is that I am the MSA, Masters of Science in Accounting's program director. And being a program director, I have an open door policy where people like you can walk into my office or text me or email me or call me at any time and ask me a question. If I can't answer it, answer the phone, I'll just let you go to voicemail and I'll call you right back. But that being said, part of my job is to mentor the questions that you have in course selection, in majors, in career selection, in firm selection of your internship or your career going forward. So we're here to really help you along and guide you through the process. It's a very mature situation. It's unlike undergraduate. We are equals in our um, communications during the year of teaching. We're both adults. Many of you work, um, and I understand that in my classroom. I have huge empathy for those that work and then come to class in our 5 o'clock or 7:30 classes. So you can always rely on any of us to pop in, ask a question. Already this morning, believe it or not, while I was, as an old guy, on the treadmill, I was faced with 3 questions, 3 emails from prior students of mine who asked questions about their future of what firm to take and what kind of uh, specialty they should go to. I've had 3 already today. So can't wait to get back to them. They were my students 2 and 3 years ago. But that's the fun that we have at Bentley University and the added value that you'll receive by selecting Bentley, even though we understand that it is, uh, an expensive proposition. But, with every expense, there's an outcome, and hopefully you'll get more out of it, which I know you will, than you pay for it. So that's my story. Can't wait to meet you. You'll love Bentley University. I love it. And the people that you'll meet are really total professionals. Thanks, Emma.
Len, that's an amazing introduction. And frankly, it's an extraordinary introduction to the full conversation Len and I plan to have today. He hit on, you know, I know sessions like this, these kinds of information sessions, it's hard to remember everything you hear in these conversations. There are kind of 4 main things over the course of this conversation that I hope those of you on the line will take away. And Len, in his introduction, just his authentic presentation of himself, has hit on most of, if not all of, these key things that I hope you'll learn from this session. So the first is we're going to talk a lot about our faculty. As Len noted, we have faculty that are, true research, academic faculty that have spent their lives thinking about accountancy. We also have a huge group of our faculty that come from industry and leverage their lived experience in their classroom and also their relationships in order to mentor, guide, and help folks' careers. Another thing we're going to talk a lot about that Len pointed to is this applied learning. We're going to talk about the curriculum here at Bentley, which is informed by our longstanding partnership with KPMG and just how experiential it is. Len has constantly told me, as we've talked about this program, and we'll talk about this more today, that folks want to hire our students because they say, well, they've already had the experience during their time at Bentley that they're going to have when they're here in their first year of their job. And that makes them a step ahead of those who haven't been exposed to that. So we're going to talk a lot about that. We're certainly going to talk about outcomes. As Len said, you all would be joining us for a very specific purpose and goal. And often that's associated with a career path that you're looking to pursue. And Len, as program director, is extraordinarily focused on ensuring that what we are doing here at Bentley sets you up for that path that you're interested in. So we'll certainly talk about that. And then Len also spoke to this idea that we have lots of ways that you can engage our curriculum and the other offerings that Bentley has, whether that's because you already have a job, whether that's you're coming to the United States for the first time. We're here to support you in learning in the way that is going to make you most successful and give you the fullest experience you are looking for, despite those other draws on your time and kind of your focus. So with that, Len, I'd love to start by talking about the curriculum through the lens of, I know accounting is changing. Certainly technology is changing. Certainly, we all are surrounded by conversation about kind of shifting landscapes. And accounting is a field that absolutely is encountering emerging technology and other kind of pressures on it. I know you think about the curriculum constantly and how it responds to those changes. Can you help us understand what is happening in the field of accounting and how has Bentley's curriculum risen to meet kind of those new challenges?
That's a great question, Emma, because that's on the minds of many of the prospective students that we have. The accounting industry is changing dramatically, and you mentioned one word that I missed that's extremely important in this whole scenario of picking the right school, the right institution, getting in, working it for a year and a half or 2 years or 1 year, whatever it takes you. It's relationships you mentioned. And the relationships that the experiential teachers and professors like myself have in the marketplace are enormous in making sure that the students that we send into the marketplace to our contemporaries and the people that are at the firms that you will work for are staffed with cutting edge staff members, employees. So how do we do that? First of all, we understand the changing environment that you just spoke about. Artificial intelligence is the perfect usage or application for accounting.
Yes.
People say you're going to go to family gatherings as a young person or weddings and all sorts of things where your uncle that's been in business 50 years is going to say, forget accounting. You don't need accounting. Artificial intelligence is going to handle it all. Incorrect. The artificial intelligence part of accounting is going to eliminate enormous amounts of drudgery work that people like myself did many years ago that you don't have to do anymore. You'll come into a firm almost as what we used to define as a third year because you'll be so full with toolbox tools to use, like all the programs in artificial intelligence, et cetera. But the changing of the industry is what's dictating that. And what's happening is you're going to hear a lot about the 150 credit hour situation of not being able to get the CPA exam licensing without the 150 hours. Well, that's on the mind of everybody right now. But tell me why our Masters of Science in Accounting is more popular now than it was for the past 5 years. People want to learn. People want to get this toolbox of information and content beneath them before they enter the workforce. And then they're prepared to pass the CPA exam, which is an academic test that we will prepare you for, and I teach toward, with a little bit of help from a review course possibly at the end, that will get you ready for that credentialing, we call it. But the industry itself is changing. Big data, data analytics, and artificial intelligence. We find out what our recruiters that are going to hire you want in the skills assessment of our students. So they say to me, and we have what's called a advisory board, and I, with others, started it a few years ago and have people from industry come into Bentley twice a year and tell us what programs in artificial intelligence they want our students to learn, or data analytics, or how to manipulate various auditing or tax methodologies or investment banking methods. So you'll understand before you get into the field of your employer how to handle these things. And as Emma said, our employers that recruit at Bentley love Bentley students, both undergrad and grad, because you're already cooked and ready to go. You can get into a client environment immediately and give a return to that particular company or firm with all of these things that are changing dramatically. So one of the things that are important are in my classroom is that you embrace change. I'm 71 years old and don't have a full grasp of a lot of these tremendous programs that are available. So what do? I bring in experts into my classroom from KPMG, EY, PwC, Deloitte, Grant Thornton, BDO, RSM, local firms, regional firms. And they come in through our relationships that Emma mentioned about 8 minutes ago. How do we get these people in and how do they tell us what to teach? So we listen to industry on the changes that are happening in our industry and revamp our curriculum and our classroom teaching to match those things, because every 6 months things are changing and we change with those industry changes.
Yeah, there's
Does
no
that
question.
help?
Yeah, absolutely, Len. And I actually threw up on the screen. It may be embarrassing you, but this is one of Len's classes where he literally did, as he said, brought in KPMG, their specific group that is focused on artificial intelligence, and had them come to class to talk about leveraging those tools in their practice. And so you can see this was literally last semester, Len living what he is describing. I think even more broadly, Len, my understanding also, so there's the AI piece of this, as you're stating. There's also just a real focus, as you noted, on integrating analytics throughout the entirety of the curriculum. And I
Right.
would love for you to talk about, I know our accounting degree allows you to specialize in 5 different majors or different tracks. And I'd love for you to talk about what does that look like? And then how is this kind of analytics focus integrated throughout? And where does that show up and how does that benefit our students?
Great. Well, analytics is actually the foundation of our MSA. So analytics is the thread that go through almost every course that you will take. And you'll have 4 core courses, 2 of which will be analytics based. And as you can see from the slide that's up right now, we've got within financial accounting and processes and controls and even decision making and data analytics, the core middle bullet points that Emma has up there, those all have a thread of analytics, and some of them are specific to analytics. So can you imagine, 20 years ago, it would be impossible to audit Amazon. There are millions and millions of transactions that happen every hour. So now with data analytics, we can take all of Amazon's transactions and review them in a much shorter period of time for anomalies that might happen in our audit process, which is called assurance up in the major section, and be able to express an opinion on Amazon's financial statements, which is to me amazing. Um, but analytics is not a specific body of knowledge per se. We used to have a master's in accounting analytics that we merged into our MSA because we felt that analytics are a toolbox throughout every course that needs to be addressed. Managerial statistics, accounting for decision making, all the things that are up there on the screen right now have threads of analytics within them because, as I said at the beginning, financial accounting and reporting, auditing, tax, and advisory are perfect environments to utilize analytics to get better answers for investment decisions of our clients or yourself, whether to buy a company or not buy a company. So it's very exciting. It's an exciting time to be in the business community for younger students like yourselves that can actually utilize analytics and technology in order to make better and better and better decisions. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't replace the need for understanding the language of business. And the language of business, what we speak to each other, whether you have analytics or not. And I did analytics back in the 80s, but I just did it with a 10-key calculator, a pencil, and a spreadsheet. We're still doing analytics. They're only faster and more accurate.
Yep.
But in order to understand that business, that language of business, you need to understand accounting. And accounting is that language.
I love that point, Len, and I love when you talk about accounting as kind of the bedrock of business. I think another thing I want to call out in this curriculum that Bentley thinks is a bedrock of business as well is you see one of the core courses here is ethics, judgment, and decision making. Bentley has one of the oldest, if not, I think actually, I don't come at me if I'm wrong, but the oldest ethics center at a business university in the United States. And we really deeply believe in business for good here at Bentley. And so, as Len is saying, you're learning the language of accounting, which is what is underpinning all of business. And you're doing so also through this lens of ethics and how accounting can push forward business for good. And I think that is a really important part of how Bentley puts forth our curriculum. I don't know, Len, if you have any reaction to that, but that's something I'm always struck by when I look at our curriculum.
That's right. And in almost every accounting course that we have, including my auditing class, we address things like um, sustainability and ethics in reporting. And every class I teach, which is about a 2 hour and 20-minute class, we have a case study that we address in fraud. How did the fraud happen? What were the ethics issues that the CFO may have been thinking, or the CEO, that put the pressure on the staff in order to commit that fraud? So there's all sorts of methodologies of how to make a decision that's ethical um, in the business setting, not just in accounting, but in the business setting. And we do it in initial accounting, intermediate, auditing, systems. Um, and that ethics course that Emma mentioned is kind of a culmination of how one would think in order to bring ethics and judgment into a business decision-making process. And it's really exciting because anybody that committed a fraud has rationalization that they've made to do so. And we go through those decision-making processes through many of our classes. And sustainability is a big part of accounting as well. A friend of the community, a friend of the environment, a friend of those in need and nonprofit organizations and the like. Those are the things that matter nowadays to many companies, not just what we would call earnings per share, not just the financial matrix, but a company like Airbnb, they feel they're not successful unless, in fact, they are sustainable. They are, in fact, good neighbors. They're good to their customers. They're good to their employees. All of these things go into a matrix that they feel makes them a successful company. And many clients, public companies feel that way as well. And that's what we try to teach, not just the numbers. You need the numbers in order to communicate the results of an operation of a company. But then what's beyond the financial statement? Are you a good neighbor? Have you polluted the rivers? Climate change, all sorts of things that we address. We address today's issues. You open up the Wall Street Journal every day, and you'll be able to bring something to a class at 5 o'clock and add to it.
Yeah, Len, let's keep going down that path because you're absolutely right. There's just so much out there, and you're describing these kind of real world cases is part of experiential learning. And as you mentioned in your introduction, that's a huge focus of the way we teach, and certainly in the MSA kind of concepts are taught. Can you give us a couple examples of experiential um, learning or different kind of ways that folks are learning in this program, whether from your class or from your colleagues' courses?
Sure. Well, one of the things that happens in a financial statement auditing class, or as a financial statement auditor, I should say, in my profession while I work, is my job was to meet with the audit committee that determined independence and all sorts of items with me as a sort of a middle person between me and the company. And there are experts out there who have done a lot of research and publishing on governance and audit committees. And one day, one of those experts came to me and closed the door and sat in front of my desk and said, you know that I'm an expert in governance and audit committee communications, don't you? I said, yes, sir, absolutely. I understand you're the foremost expert in approaching boards of directors and audit committees. And he looked at me and he said, could you tell me what it's like to be in front of an audit committee and a board of directors? He had never been in front of one. Now, this wasn't a Bentley professor, it was someone else. And in fact, I had been, of course, in front of, hundreds of these
Right.
people. And it just goes to show you that not only will we bring you the technical part of it, the hardcore stuff, but we'll also talk to you about how to present, how to speak, um, the effects of saying one or two different words in front of a board of directors or an audit committee. We're going to teach you that kind of experience that you're going to get when you start working for those people. So there's a gentleman named Frank Nemia who's in the master's program, and he teaches cybersecurity systems and controls, which is a huge area right now for the need that many of the firms and companies have for our students. You need certainly accounting to understand the underlying factors. But Frank Nemia was a partner, like I was a partner at a big firm for many years, same as me, 40 years. And he teaches in my master's program both cybersecurity and internal auditing and internal controls. An amazing part of need and knowledge that you'll get from somebody that charged $800 or $900 an hour in his day for other companies to listen to him, protect their information systems. Walmart gets hit probably 2,000-3,000 times an hour from outside sources to try to get into their systems. And he's the kind of guy that will teach you about protecting cybersecurity issues of large systems and procedures. That's Frank Nemia, comes from Ernst & Young. Me, from Grant Thorne. We have a professor named M.J. Potvin who teaches in that grad school and understands public accounting well. Carrie Ann Sanderson, who you see here, hands-on information system and audit, internal auditing for companies. Met Kurt, an incredible resource for Alteryx, Tableau, R, Python, all of the programs you're going to learn to make sure that you're properly prepared when you go into industry. More than any other institution, I think, we have people that are geared up and ready to, as I said before, get you cooked and ready to go on your first day you enter a public accounting firm or an industry company. And you'll say things and use terms that many times I hear are unbelievable that we've taught you students these type of things. So that's the fun of what we do. And we will help you with your internships and your majors and your career path with people like Frank, like MJ, like Carrie Ann, and like Ahmed, just
Yeah.
for an example.
Yeah, there's no question, Len. And I guess let me ask, just to close out this section of you and me talking, and then we'll talk a little bit about the admissions process and then get to, I'm seeing lots of good Q&A from folks on the line. Tell us what makes an MSA student successful at Bentley. We've talked a lot about what they're going to receive, right? You're talking about all this experiential learning, all of this opportunity to interact with our industry collaborations due to our faculty relationships, all of this ability to get your hands really dirty as you're in your program so that you're ready for your CPA exam and therefore really ready for your roles.
Mhm.
What makes someone coming in particularly successful?
That's a great question. And that will be part of my first day orientation this afternoon. Um, so think about being hired. Well, first of all, think about that graduate school will be very much different than undergraduate school. So I'll teach sophomores, two classes of sophomores, so differently than I'll teach you in the graduate school. It's amazing. It's a very much more mature setting. It's again, we're eye level. It's not professor student environment. It's a professional to each other. We're eye to eye. You may know more from your job than I'll ever know in a particular area. Um, but to be successful in my class and most professors' classes is that you are a self-starter, that you will get out what you put into it. What will make you tremendously successful, especially in my class, is to get ahead of me in the content. In other words, don't use a lecture of a professor in grad school to be the first time you've heard that content of a particular chapter or subject that we're going over. Get ahead of him or her. Read the content. Do the homework that's assigned. Maybe do a little bit of reading on the side through the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Financial Times, whatever you can get to get into that class and be additive. Help me teach. Help me teach that. I love to have people that will tell their war stories of their job or what their parents may do or what their brother may be involved in investment banking with an auditor or an accountant that's involved. But preparation, self-starting, ahead of the professor, every class. Be curious. Keep asking questions. I'm one of those people that say, I'll give you as much time as you want if you come 50% of the way with me. You come 50%, I'll go 50%. I'll get you ready for that CPA exam and a job, and you'll be the brightest star in that recruiting class. Just listen and be attentive and show up. And I ask you to be professional, not necessarily in attire per se, but in preparation, and enthusiasm. I call on everybody every class.
Yes.
So I keep you on the edge of your seat, wondering, I wonder if this guy's going to call me on this question. But that's what I wonder. That's what's going to happen to you in industry, is you're going to have somebody at 8 o'clock at night say, hey, Frank, what did you do today all day? Or, I'll ask you about a particular subject. If you don't want to answer it, that's fine. Pass, and that's okay. Life gets in the way, and I understand that. But you and I will communicate, and all of the professors in the MSA. Emma mentioned it, the word relationship. You're going to have great relationships with your professors that you've never had in undergraduate school, because we want you to succeed. We're setting you up for success, not for failure. This isn't a punitive kind of a school. It's come on, let's get you through this thing. I'm pushing you from behind, saying we can do this, and you can do it. That we wouldn't let you into our program if you couldn't do it. So you'd love it.
It's so true, Len. And I guess I want to end this section by saying two things. Len just said, a successful student goes 50% and Len will go 50%. I will argue you go 50%, Len's going to go 80%. That is who Len is, and that's who our faculty are. Len told the story about being on the treadmill this morning. And you can kind of be like, I've never talked to Len before, so okay, maybe this was an atypical morning. That's a quiet morning for Len. Like, Len is on the calls with folks at all hours of the day, supporting them in thinking through what does success look like for them. And I'm not being facetious when I say that or hyperbolic. Like, this is truly how our faculty work with our students. We really, I just want to underline kind of where we started, because I think it's very important. And then Michelle, I would love for you to talk about how folks can join us. But we are going to bring so much accounting expertise into this program. It is undeniable how much our faculty know about this space and what they are bringing into the classroom. As Len is pointing to, they are bringing in literal things happening that day into the classroom. So you understand the cutting edge. They are leveraging their relationships to bring in the newest technologies and the newest ways accounting firms are thinking about all of the issues in the space. you're going to have so much experience getting putting your hands on problems, working through things, talking to someone like Len to really understand what the path in accounting looks like, such that you are so prepared to join into this profession. Our students have extraordinary outcomes in this space. And I know, Len, we've talked about specifically, right, CPA licensure. Our students are well above average in their passing of the many parts of that certification. And some of that is because they're preparing throughout the course of this program. And so with that, Michelle, I would love for you to talk a little bit about the admissions process and what does it look like to join us. And then we'll make sure to answer. There's a lot of great questions in the Q&A. I hope folks will also add other questions, and we'll make sure to get to both those that reflect the admissions process, but also the program in general.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Emma and Len, for a wonderful introduction of the MSA program. Again, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. My name is Michelle Wan. I'm one of the Associate Director here at Bentley University Grad Admission. I work very closely with Len on the recruitment work for the MSA program. And today I'm really excited to be here to walk you through the application process and tell you how you can be part of this amazing program at Bentley University. And I know application process can sometimes feel a little bit overwhelming, but I will make sure I will bring it all down for you step by step later in this presentation. And of course, like Emma mentioned, feel free to shoot us those questions in the Q&A box. We will address them accordingly shortly. Yep. So let me first share my screen. So can everybody see my screen with the application requirements?
Looks great, Michelle.
Awesome, wonderful. So, so on this screen, you can see the items that you will need for your application. So first thing first, we will love to see your current resume. So on the resume, you will be providing us information regarding your education background, professional background. If you have any internship experience, you also would like to include those in the resume. And also additional information such as volunteer work, leadership involvement, extracurricular activities, anything that you would like us to know about your credential, you can definitely add those information to the resume. And also, please make sure that you also include your LinkedIn profile if you have one. If you don't have one, I would strongly encourage you to consider making one, because LinkedIn is a really important platform for professional network, especially in the US, where people can connect with each other for jobs, for professional development, for business development. It's widely used in the US job market. The employers and recruiters often use that for like recruiting students, recruiting the employees. And also Bentley Career Development Office, they also use this as a tool in helping our student at Bentley. So make sure that your LinkedIn you share your LinkedIn profile with us, and also make sure that your LinkedIn match with your resume information. So the next one we'd love to see from your application is one letter of recommendation. A frequently asked question I often get from my student about this one is, should the letter be academic recommendation or professional recommendation? So the answer to this question is either one works. We accept both types. And if you're working, I would suggest maybe you can ask your current or former supervisor for a professional recommendation. And if you're currently in school, you can go with a professor who knows you really well, and they can speak to your performance in class, your skills, your intellectual curiosity. Those will be some good information for the admission committee to know. There's another question I often get regarding this letter of recommendation is that can I submit more than one letter? So the answer is yes, you can definitely submit more than one, but also keep in mind it's not just about the quantity, how many letters you send to us. It's also about how well your recommender can speak to you. So how well they can speak regarding your qualification for the program, your performance, your academic performance in school or your professional work performance at the work setting. And also, you may not want to ask someone just because they have a very fancy title or they have a big name. They probably don't really actually know you. So those type of recommendation will not help your application. And also, in addition, please make sure that you give your recommender plenty of time for the preparation to write a really strong letter for you. And in your application, you can actually set a deadline for them. So you can provide them maybe 3 to 4 weeks for them to compose the essay, to submit compose the letter and submit it online to us. And also just make sure that you give them a notice early, mentioning that you are planning to apply to Bentley MSA program. And trust me, your recommender will really appreciate that heads up. The next one we will talk about is regarding the application essay. So we will require one application essay. So this is really your chance to shine. The essay can really give the admission committee a deeper understanding of your program motivation, your career goals, and how Bentley fit into that journey. It also gives us the opportunity to know whether you have done some research about Bentley, about the MSA program, and how the program can really support you to help you to reach what you want to get to. There are different essay prompts for you to choose from. So when you come to the application, you can see the prompts and then you can choose one of them to compose the essay. There's also a statement of purpose, which is the optional, but that gives you more really freedom to discuss something like why you are looking to apply to Bentley now, what specifically MSA program, your passion for accounting, and so you really can use this opportunity to tell us about your personal story, like something that we really cannot tell from your transcript or resume. So that will give you this great opportunity to tell us more about yourself as an individual, and then how you can be a good fit for this accounting program. A very important note regarding the essay and the statement of purpose is that please do not use any AI tools to write them. Be authentic. Use your own words, use your own writing to compose the essay, because the admission committee will read a lot of application essays, and this is very easy to spot if any student use the AI tools. And really nothing is more powerful than your personal authentic story. Now let's talk about the test score. So the test score, the GMAT or GRE, is actually optional for admission at Bentley University. But if you have a valid test score, we're really planning to take the test in the next few months or so, you may want to make sure that you submit the test score to us. However, if you're really unsure whether submitting the test score will help strengthen your application, you can always schedule an admission consultation with us. We'll be happy to look at your background, your application, whole application package, and provide some honest feedback regarding your application, whether you should be taking the test or not. So generally, GMAT test score we'll be looking at usually is around 318 in total, with 150 in the quantitative section. For GMAT, the lowest score is usually around 550. I see there's a question regarding the GMAT focused addition. At the Bentley admission, we also accept the GMAT focused addition. So you are definitely more than welcome to submit the test score to us. It can be home addition or the in-person format where you took the test. And next one, we have the English language test. So for students who come from countries where English is not the only primary language spoken, you can consider to take an English test to demonstrate your English proficiency. So we accept TOEFL with a score of 100 or higher. For IELTS, we also accept IELTS. We are usually looking at 7.0 or higher. Duolingo, that will be 130 or higher. And also we accept a Pearson, which is a 61 or higher. Those usually are the English tests we accept from. Out of those tests, if your prior degree was taught fully in English, the only language of instruction in the degree program was in English, then you can also use an English letter issued by your school to request for a waiver for the English language requirements. So we can use that letter to consider a waiver for you. And then if we need a additional assessment of your English proficiency, we will also reach out to you to schedule a evaluate interview to better assess your English proficiency. And the final requirement is regarding your transcript. So within the application, you will be sending us the transcript. So if you attend the university in the US, you can send us your unofficial transcript from all the schools that you attended during the admission process. And once you get accepted and decided to enroll into our accounting program, you would then send us your final official transcript before you start the program. And for folks who attend the university outside the US, and the school really does not follow the US system, we will need a copy of your transcript as well as a course-by-course international transcript evaluation. So for this course-by-course international transcript evaluation, we accept evaluation from any company which is member of the NACES organization. We will share with you the list within the application. You can see the list of the company that we accept evaluation from. The evaluation really gives the admission committee more information regarding how your degree is equivalent to a degree in the US. We will also need to make sure that you have an equivalent of a four-year degree a bachelor degree in the US. And also please note the evaluation may take some time to order and also for the evaluation company to finish the evaluation. So make sure that you plan ahead, make sure you reach out to those evaluation companies to request an evaluation. Don't wait for the last minute as we really cannot review your application without evaluation. So next. Let's talk a little bit about financing your education. What are the financial resources available for you? So at Bentley, we offer merit scholarship for admitted students. Those are the awards based on your competitiveness within the application pool, and really the value, how you can be a valuable candidates, what are the value they can bring in to the program. So we will review your entire application, including everything submitted within your application that's related to your academic background, your professional background, and your overall value to the program. And then the admission committee will make that determination on how much scholarship that you might be qualified for. And then also as you can see, majority of our students, 85% of our students receive some kind of merit scholarship. And again, this is really based on the strength of your application. The stronger your application, the greater chance you will get a higher amount of scholarship. Another type of scholarship available is the graduate assistantship. I see a student is asking about that in the chat, in the Q&A box. So for our full-time students who are applying for the fall term, Bentley also offer a number of graduate assistantship, which are guaranteed on-campus jobs. So if you receive a GA position, you will receive a on-campus job. And this is a one-year appointment in research, academic, and administrative type of roles where you can work on campus. Usually students can work up to 15 hours per week during the semesters in that entire year. And plus, we also have other on-campus jobs available. So outside the GA position, there are also different type of other on-campus jobs that you can apply for. So once you enroll into the program, you are definitely more than welcome to apply for those jobs. And if you receive on-campus job, you will get paid. And you usually, for our students, you can work up to 20 hours per week during the regular semester. During summer and winter semester, you can work up to 40 hours per week. And you will get a compensation which can potentially offset partially of your tuition cost. And beyond Bentley, there are also different kinds of external funding resources that you can explore, such as the tuition reimbursement. So there are some companies that they offer tuition reimbursement as a benefit to their employee. So definitely, if you're thinking about a graduate school, definitely check with your company regarding that, if they offer any type of tuition reimbursement for you, so that you can use that to apply to your graduate graduate school cost. There are also grants, loans opportunity offered by various organizations, government agencies, and foundations. So make sure that you do your research well. You can explore those opportunities by looking online or talking to companies, organizations. And also for our domestic students, if you're applying for the graduate school, you can also apply for the need-based financial aid. So simply submit your FOPS application to our financial aid office, and then you might be getting an additional funding that you can use towards your graduate school. And finally, let's talk about the application deadlines. So our accounting program application for spring 2026 and fall 2026 are now open. So you can go to our official website and then start application from there. For spring 2026, the semester usually starts in late January. So next year, January 2026, the semester will start around that time. The priority deadline is October 1st, and standard deadline is December 12th. For fall 2026, the term will usually start in late August or early September. There are 3 priority rounds of deadline available, which are November 1st, December 15th, and February 1st. I usually encourage my students to apply early in the application cycle, just because we tend to give a better scholarship package for students who apply early. And also it also gives you additional time, ample time to get prepared for your graduate school after acceptance. Especially also for our international students who may need time to prepare for their visa process. This can also be a huge help for you to start that process early in the cycle. And if you're an international student who have never been issued an F1 visa before, the final deadline for fall 2026 for you to submit application is June 1st. And for domestic and civil transfer student, the deadline will be August 15 next year, but never wait until the last day to apply, because that might be really late. It will not give you ample time to prepare for the next steps. And also, if you're just unsure about which deadline is best option for you, you can always reach out to us, and we can have an individual conversation to get you through that process and get you to use which deadline to apply. We are always happy to support you throughout this entire process. So I think that's everything regarding the admission process.
Thanks, Michelle. I know we're coming up on time. That was incredibly helpful, and I know you answered a bunch of questions that were in the chat about the admissions process. Len, I would love for you to end by answering one question that's in the chat that I think is an incredibly important point that we haven't gotten to make yet, which the attendee asks, what advice would you give to students with a non-accounting background so that they can have a strong application? And underneath that question, I think, is the question of, do I need to know accounting in order to be successful in this program? So if you don't mind, Len, starting with that second piece of, what is our expectation of your knowledge? And then how can you still be successful in this program if you happen to not have any accounting background? Oh, and Len, you're on mute. I'm sorry, I meant to tell you that.
No, that's right. I did see that. Thank you. We do have some initial first year accounting requirements and statistics that Michelle, right? The prereqs would be fulfilled possibly in the summer before they start. That could be done online, and it would just be some of the beginnings of understanding a little bit of accounting before you start, because your first financial accounting class will be what we call intermediate accounting. But I love having liberal arts majors, marketing, history, modern languages, sociology majors come into our program with a different perspective than a pure financial undergrad training in their respective undergrad degree. So it's a great perspective to have as something other than possibly business or accounting or finance. But you can be extremely successful with a few prereqs to get into the program and then carry it forward. And we have many people that do so.
Absolutely. Well, I am going to end us with just two things. I hope you all will allow me. The first is what I think is a really important kind of comment from one of our former students, which really focuses on a lot of the things we've talked about today. So to start by saying, accounting is critical to business. As Len says, it's the language of business, which leads to accounting is going to be important always, even in an unpredictable economy. In fact, maybe even more so in an unpredictable economy. We need to understand accounting. The other piece that this student shares is just that technology is such a huge part of the success of accounting. And as Len talked about today, that is the underpinning of our program, is that we want to make sure you are successful as accountants of today, not as accountants of 40 years ago. Although I don't know how Len claims he worked for 40 years, because I'm pretty sure Len's actually 25, but I'll take his word for it that he is
Thank you.
not. And so I just want to leave you with this experience that some of our students have. The other thing I would love to leave you with is just a way to continue to speak with us, because if nothing else, we would love to continue this conversation, whether that's with me or Michelle or with Len. You can see here lots of ways to stay in touch. One of the things I want to point out is this set up a consultation section. That's what Michelle is talking about as a way to one-on-one get commentary on your application, your kind of thinking, how could this set you up for the career that you're looking for? And we would love to talk to you about each and every one of your specific scenarios. We will be following up with an email after this that will have the video. You also have access to Michelle, me, and Len, and we really hope you will continue to consider our extraordinary Masters of Accounting program. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, as Michelle said, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Good one.